every morning in practice, in meditation, in my meditation room, in my practice, if you must hear it more explicitly, every day, always with me, always together, co-meditating, interbeing, finding refuge in togetherness and solidarity, kindred spirits and shared hearts and mind, energy and souls, if not bodies, awakening together, loving together, walking this winding path together. Let's have a moment of silence for all those who are suffering at the hands of war and other things like that. So many things we could focus on. Maybe we could take a break from that now for an hour and touch on the other side of things. It's Sunday, a day of rest, a beautiful day, a beach day here in the Northeast for us beachcombers and beach bums and starfish and crabs. I see you. Just joking, I won't mention any names. Moment of silence, including all in our heart, our spiritual life, our Sangha, our family, our communion, our community today, especially all who are suffering, oppressed, afraid, anxious, mourning. Oh, what a relief, what a release, what a relief to have arrived at last. How sweet it is. Nothing more to do, figure out, remember, analyze, achieve. Just being with a capital B plus. Awareness alone, meta awareness, super awareness with a capital A plus, present awareness. See? D is for Dharma, not doofus, no more. I know you're serious seekers. Is the shortest Sanskrit sutra. Look it up. The shortest Sanskrit sutra, shortest Mahayana sutra. The seed syllable of throat chakra. The seed syllable of Dzogchen. The logo of the Dzogchen Foundation. The first letter of the Tibetan alphabet. Read. Breathing out, relief, say off, go gaga. Finding refuge, solace, sanctuary in the now, the holy now, the timeless time, the momentous moment. The Shicha, the fourth fraction, the fourth time beyond 3 times, past, present, future, the fourth time. timeless time, beyond aging, beyond birth and death. Finding refuge and solace in nowness awareness, the Buddha nature, the good news, original goodness, natural, innate, great completeness, great perfection. What if anything comes between us and that? Notice judgments, doubts, evaluations, reactions, just aware of whatever arises, looking for everything, the big picture, the big frame, looking for everything to come and go like the sky, with clouds and weather flitting through it. This too shall pass. Imaho, way to go. Ah, ho, as they say, like imaho, exclamation of wonderment, of wakefulness. Aho, kiki so lag yalo, as the Tibetans shout when they come over a high pass in the Himalayas. The other side beckons, and enjoying where they are at the same time. Not waiting. Being there while getting there every step of the way. Dig it. Being here while getting there every step of the way. Sky gazing, space mingling, infinite dissolving, openness and awareness inseparable. Follow the breath if you need an anchor, the present awareness. Otherwise, just aware of awareness itself. Enjoy the view, the bigger picture, wisdom of allowing or openness and lucidity, luminosity, lucidity, clarity, gnosis. Allow to proceed as it does without interference, judgment, manipulation, evaluation. Sitting, Dzogchen is sitting Buddha, as the masters say. Maybe it's babysitting Buddha who's growing up in us and with a sitter, as well as the city. Oh, words like birds, like tracks left in the sky, in the empty, open, naked business. Human nature is Buddha nature. When we become truly ourselves, authentic, Buddha becomes Buddha. Awakened Buddha, not sleeping Buddha. No. This breath, only breath, this moment, only moment. Total awareness, incandescent, lucid presence. Eye gazing, seeing through, just being through. Imahu. Oh. openness and awareness, inseparable. Maha mindfulness, metta awareness, super awareness, beyond pushing and pulling, attraction and aversion, judgment, evaluation, aware of whatever momentarily arises in the body-mind continuum, in the space of consciousness in the present moment, watching the arising, dissolving, like ripples on the stream of consciousness, like near waves on the sea of awareness, sea of being. The depths remain undisturbed, unmoved, and the ocean of being, the consciousness never leaves its bed, in whole, at home, at ease, assume your Buddha seat. Don't reach out, don't recoil, aligned, erect, flow, immoral, in the zone. Oh yeah. And enjoy the joy of non-meditation, just being, your presence, naked awareness. Yeah. Eyes open, ears open, nose open, heart open, throat open, diaphragm open, everything open, heart and mind open, relaxed, at ease, decontracted, natural. What word should we use? At ease, as is, leave it as it is, as the Dzogchen slogan goes. See through everything, momentary, temporary, dreamlike appearances, and rest free, clear, luminous, transparent to the Buddha-ness within, the Buddha nature, transparent, translucent, beyond receptive, transreal essence, to penetrating oneness beyond oneness, into being whole, the heart of the Buddha mandala, the heart of Dharma, the heart of light. There is no darkness, only different degrees of light. Imamo. Light, errors, lighten up and enlighten up. Imamo. Thank you. Now close your eyes and keep sky gazing right through your closed eyelids into the infinite sky within. Close your eyes. Keep gazing nakedly into the luminosity. Is it black light behind your eyelids? Infinite openness, lucidity, the clear light of the mind, the brilliance of cognizance, of knowing, cognizance, not empty space, but cognizant, lucid, luminous, know the knower, be free, see through the seer, transparent to your true transpersonal being, to Buddha-ness, Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha, what's come and what goes beyond Tathagata Garbha, isness, suchness, yes, here and now, now and now. How sweet it is. Thank you. Gaze into the infinite. Is it really dark? Or is it sort of ever iridescent, like in the bottom of the sea? This little glinting black light, iridescence, phosphorescence, immanence, the divine light within, transcendent yet immanent in each and all of us. Oh, light bearers, bodhisattvas, one and all. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Mani Padme Hum. Om 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 Mani Padme Hum. May all beings be happy, content, fulfilled. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. We'll be awakened, liberated, free. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. May you all be healed and whole again. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 This planet itself be healed, restored, rebalanced. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Peace, harmony, tolerance, patience, acceptance, cooperation, collaboration, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Shanti, Om Mani Padme Hum. May it be so, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. From our lips to God, Buddha's ears, Om Mani Padme Hori, 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 radiating it from the heart center like a warm, brilliant sun, a sunflower unfolding. Om Mani Padme Hori, heart chakra activated, a light ablaze. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme. Hori, Om Mani Padme. Ooh, radiating and reabsorbing almost simultaneously. Reciprocal mutuality. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hum. Peace, love, compassion, inclusivity. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, loving kindness, compassion in action. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme. But accepting oneself, accepting others. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori. Acceptance has its own transformative magic. Try it. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hum. Love for one and all. Om, radiating it, absorbing it, all digging it. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme. Oh, love, unconditional, divine, flowing freely. Om Mani Padme Hori, Om Mani Padme Hori, equanimity, equal to all. Om Mani Padme Hori, 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 Om Mani Padme Hori. Wah, wah, wah. Om Mani Padme Hori, the jewel in the lotus, the Buddha within, the light within the darkness, shadows are nothing but light. Don't just see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, with light coming through the walls, from the ground right now. Rob, could we see the Millennium Prayer and Campos dedication and merits prayer, please? That's it. Thanks. Through the merit and good karma of this virtuous practice and our sterling intentions and aspirations, the indispensable bodhicitta, absolute and relative, may the light of the enlightened one's precious teachings remain for ages to come in this benighted world, the basis for every single kind of benefit and happiness, worldly and spiritual and in between. May all the supreme holders of these liberating teachings who uphold its living truth accept or agree to live on for aeons in this world, and their lotus feet stand firm among us. And so may the sun of altruism and well-being, benevolence, bodhicitta, in all its blazing splendor, shine the brilliant light of the study and practice of Buddha Dharma throughout every corner of the universe. Yay! May all beings everywhere with whom we are inseparably connected and who want and need the same as we do, may all be awakened, liberated, healed, fulfilled, equal, safe, and free. May there be peace and harmony in this world, and more loving kindness and justice, and less cruelty and greed and selfishness and oppression. And may there be an end to war and violence at home and abroad, to poverty and hunger, to greed and cruelty, pandemics, famine, droughts, earthquakes, all kinds of natural disasters, and may all be free from harm, fear, danger, anxiety, and insecurity. And may we all together complete this gorgeous, meaningful spiritual journey. One beloved community, a sangha, one circle, one family, one satsang, all the way home. Ah, how sweet it is. Imaho, aho, hee hee ha ho, ha, hee hee ha ha ho ho, as the Harukas Dakinis sing. KK so so lag yalo is the Tibetan sing, coming over any high pass in the Himalayas. Hallelujah. Rejoice. Eureka. Imaho. Amen. Spontaneous exclamations of liberation, of release, of ecstatic joy, of fulfillment and accomplishment. We find these in many Vajrayana and Tantrayana texts and spontaneous songs of enlightenment and sadhanas, practice texts. In the beginning, often in the beginning and in the end. If you look at Osho Campos' poems, they often begin with Imaho or Aho, Milarepa's songs and others. You can look it up. Sounds of joyous exclamation upon accomplishing, upon achieving, upon the delight, the freedom, the energy released, the buoyance, the exhilaration, the spontaneity, the energy of wakefulness, of awakening, of enlightenment, the spiritual realization of sunrise, the sun of clear seeing, of wisdom breaking through the murk and the darkness of ignorance, of not knowing, of confusion and delusion. It's a joyous yogic tradition of yogic songs, and yes, there's also Lama dances, cham, and other things in Himalayan Buddhism, in Vajrayana Buddhism, the Diamond Path, and Tantric Buddhism, and Tantric Hinduism that you don't usually find in the general teachings of the Theravadan and monastic traditions. It's a joyous tradition. I love it. Recently, some Buddhists in the world celebrated Buddha's birthday and Enlightenment Day. Many of us celebrated the what's it called, the summer solstice. May 15th, or the full moon in May, was the Wesak festival that different Buddhist traditions celebrate, as well as the Theosophists and other mystical inspired people, even in the West, the Theosophist tradition. The Wesak full moon, when the so-called ascended masters gather in their spiritual mystical bodies, let's say, in the Himalayas, in the valley of, I forget what it's called the Valley of Wesak, on the Wesak full moon, the full moon in May, which they consider Buddha's birthday, Enlightenment Day, and Death Day. I don't know how that happened, but Buddha was the unusual guy, I guess, and his karma was not ordinary. He refined it. There's a lot to celebrate these days. Also, perhaps we could say that we're getting the pandemic somewhat aligned or managed to some extent, and we hope that will continue even if there's no discrete end. At least we will be able to manage it and take care of it, people and ourselves and each other better. Also, it's summer, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. Everything's blossoming, everything's green, everything's beautiful. Of course, if you don't like the sun or the heat, that's a different matter. But here in the Northeast, it's a welcome respite from the snowy winter. Of course, with global warming, everything seems to be warming up. That's an issue we definitely have to take care of and vote and be informed citizens about environmental degradation in the atmosphere and the future. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about political action or to pass petitions or get signatures. Here we rely on, at this moment, the power of one. Think about it. When Buddha awoke, the whole world was awakened, at least to some extent. The Zen tradition says, Buddha said, let me put it again, the Zen tradition says that Buddha said, when I was awakened, all were awakened, even the rocks and the trees. So if the inner lawyer has any objections to that or doubts the veracity of that radical statement, how about a little easier modern translation? My translation may not be exactly literal. But when I become clear, everything became clearer. Even now, when I become clear, everything becomes clearer. Isn't that why we meditate, work on ourselves, raise our consciousness, improve our minds, so that eventually our actions and our bodies and energy will follow? So that's our practice these days, even the practice of one. Of course, we don't just take refuge in Buddha, also in the Sangha, the synergy, the collective whole, the group heart and mind, the beauty of belonging and of traveling this journey together. One family, one satsang, one sangha, one mandala, one samaya, bound together by love, intention, and commitment. So I hope you'll join us for the summer retreat. Again, it'll have to be virtual this July. We've been doing summer retreats since 1992, a lot of years. It was usually a month or 2 weeks or 10 days. Now we're down to virtual. Please join us. Let's keep this wonderful, important mission going for our benefit and paying it forward for the generations to come. Wisening up and enlightening up, as well as lightening up and not taking ourselves so seriously. And recognizing, check it out, don't take my word for it. Try to recognize it in the bigger picture. Probably nothing matters as much as we think it does in the moment. So give it a little space, or patience or time, and keep your eyes on the ball and see what happens. Questions, please. Rob, do we have any?
We don't have any questions right now, but Nancy says she has a little statement that I'll read. She says, remembering my friend Charles Brian Peterson, who welcomed me into his home and the Sangha as he journeys to his next life. So perhaps just a thought here for Brian. For Charles Brian.
You'll remember Charles and those who help bring us to good things, to the Dharma, and including those who bring us into this world and show us the ways of the world and educate us and help us get along like parents and others. We venerate, we are grateful, we love and appreciate and remember our connections, and all of them, and try to repay them by paying it forward. Thank you. Yeah, so please join us July, I think it's 13th to 15th for our summer retreat. And I've been working on some newish material. Maybe you noticed I mentioned a few things today. I don't always mention, so I'm not going to mention now. You can think about that. Even if it's just a few words or something that were different, like transparent too. Anyway, Rob, you must have some questions. You're a serious practitioner. You lives under a pyramid there in northern Vermont, so you must have very sharp.
No, just about, yes. I actually do have a question. I don't know if we have time for it. It's only a couple minutes, but I guess simply put, what's the difference between attachment and devotion? And I'm just thinking of, for example, the story of the woman who asked her son to bring back a relic of the Buddha from India, and her son repeatedly forgot, and then finally she says he's approaching her door, he sees a dead dog and takes a dog's tooth, and she theoretically becomes enlightened because she's so devoted to this dog's tooth that she thinks is from the Buddha. Is that attachment?
No.
It's devotion, but
yes.
Yeah. So how would you explain the difference between the two?
Well, since you brought up a Buddhist story, then just like a Buddhist definition, we could broaden it. A Buddhist definition, the word attachment, it could also be translated as grasping or craving. The original Buddha's word was tanha, which sort of literally means thirst or craving or hunger, craving. So you could see how that would not necessarily be the same as devotion. Now you might say devotion, what about aspiration? But you asked about devotion. So aspiration is like a higher level of attachment where you're raising your goals or, grasping to a higher object, which sort of like undoes itself eventually. So tanha, attachment, craving, grasping, fixation, not just desire, but like overweening desire, like lust, fixed opinions, being fixed, dogmatic, stuck. Devotion is quite different. Some people have defined faith or belief as like intuitively knowing or sensing something that you can't quite prove rationally or measure. That's a little different. Of course, how attached you are is one side of it, but not the whole story. So devotion is, I think, a way of relating to something, let's say, and these are just words, bigger than ourselves or beyond ourselves, not just our small, separate ego identity, but being devoted to a cause, for example, like the betterment of others, or, helping the children or the disease is and things like that. So it's like unselfish generosity, among other things. But the path of devotion, and in next year, in this coming school years, let's call it master class, one of the sessions is going to be called Bhakti and Gyan, the path of devotion and the path of wisdom realization or wisdom cultivation. So devotion is not just the same as faith or belief, but it may be related. And it's a practice where you practice like aspiring or serving or giving yourself to something bigger than or beyond oneself and selfish interests. Now, if you get into more like the specific theistic, theological side of devotion, which you're talking about Buddhism, so there it is with the Buddha's relic and the dog's tooth and her, praying to it and practicing with all of her neighbors in front of it and the altar for years, then, her getting liberation that way through devotion, the path of devotion, of losing herself in the biggerness. So in Western theology, you would say less of me and more of God, being devoted to something, higher than themselves, or merging with God. Not necessarily having God merge with me, because me is so, huge. Of course, it's not two, but you hear what I'm saying. So in Hinduism, in India, that I learned from the Karoli Baba and others, Bhakti is a great path of not just belief and faith, but also of service, of generosity, of giving yourself to others, of caritas. In English, charity, caritas, self-giving. So you give yourself to something beyond yourself. Devoted to your family, for example. Devoted to God, as like from below to above, as above, so below. We're devoted to a better world. We're devoted to cultivating wisdom. So that's where like the two wings or two paths of Bhakti and Gyan kind of are parallel and meeting the horizon, or are like two sides of one hand. Devote yourself to truth, like Krishnamurti. He's a classic Jnani, wisdom-oriented awareness person, not that devotional, emotional. Or like Ram Dass, kind of sloppy bhakti, no matter how educated he was, devotional. Always talking about his guru, devotion to his guru, doing everything for the guru. Like in the West, some theists, followers, practitioners say, my life is dedicated to God, or I do everything for God, or I try to find out God's will, maybe through prayer or reflection, introspection, find God's will and do God's will, not just my ego, selfish grasping and will and, etc. Selfing, security making, but God's will, something bigger. So that's a little bit about devotion, and you can look it up, and there's different kinds of devotion. I mentioned these Tibetan thinking, like blind faith, longing faith, where there's something there and you long for, and then lucid faith, which is really conviction, where you actually realize something for yourself.
Thank you, Lama. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Looks like we're out of time. So thank you very much. And thanks to everyone for joining us. And again, please remember, we have a retreat coming up soon, July 15th through the 17th, and hopefully we'll see you there. Thank you.
Be well, stay well.